listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's up, Forgers? Welcome to Season 3, Episode number 105 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our amazing supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show. I know you're all thinking, this week, what is she more awesome than? And this week I was thinking, you know what I really love, Kristen? I love that Friday feeling, and you are more awesome than the Friday feeling.
Isn't that a great feeling? It's so relaxing. Doesn't matter what you have to do on Friday. All that matters is that it is Friday, so it doesn't matter.
What's your least favorite day feeling of the week? Because, funny enough, mine's Sunday, I think.
Oh, really? Sunday? Why Sunday?
Just because there's the impending doom.
The train wreck that's about to crash. Oh, man, let's see. Well, when I was working as a secretary in Chicago, Tuesdays proved to be the grumpiest days for people calling in. Maybe because Monday's the first day of the week, so that's something special. Wednesday's the middle of the week, so at least we can all joke about it being hump day. Thursday's one day from Friday, and Friday, people are out of the office anyway.
Yeah, I think Tuesday is the worst day for traffic, too, at least here in Southern California, because people, take a long weekend. They don't come in on Monday or Friday, and Tuesday, everyone has to be there. So, yes. Well, speaking of all these days, this is just a reminder that we've changed the show record time to Sundays at noon. High noon on Sundays Pacific. You can catch us on twitch.tv/Amove TV. Next week, though, because of scheduling issues, we're going to be bringing it to you on Saturday. So it's just going to keep getting earlier and earlier and earlier, and then eventually we'll be back on Sunday someday.
That's what you do, right? As long as it's a schedule of some sort, everyone's on board with it.
Absolutely. We are bringing you an episode every week, and in order to do that, we've got to do it next Saturday at noon on twitch.tv/Amove TV, and then we'll go back to Sundays at noon. And the reason we moved the show to noon on Sundays is because Kristen and I are part of a pretty rock and roll awesome stream on twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson, where we play Divinity 2.
It's amazing. And 2 p.m. Pacific today, we get back into it. We are putting together builds for our characters. You fly now and you turn into a bull. And then I got something called a Phoenix dive, which I'm super stoked to use this week.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. And the stream is a ton of fun. There's a lot of crazy crap that happens in this game. And if you haven't played it, get out there, get a couple friends and play it, or check out the stream and live vicariously through us as we adventure through this really weird world. And I'm gonna try to not repeat everything I say all day today.
We do it all the time. We have our favorite words, and when we're in those situations, we pull those words out, right? Every single person does that.
Oh, lots going on in the heroes world as well. The mech skins. Too bad I don't play those heroes often, but if I did, those skins would be an instant purchase.
Right, and not only the mech skins, it was the animation that sold those mech skins. And my favorite part of that animation, I mean, the bloodlust was amazing, but there's one part where one of the mechs punches somebody in the face and then it fades to the white line art drawing. And that, to me, really kind of hits home just how much love of anime was put into designing this, because a lot of classic anime does that at some point when things get really intense. It's this really cool, I guess, deconstruction of the animation because it's just so powerful. It deletes whatever it was from existence.
That is so cool. I'm going to have to watch it again because I didn't notice that. And I mean, I've watched it 100 times. I think it's so cool. I am not a super fan of anime. I've watched my fair share of it, but I wasn't, always and always about anime. But this video is really well done, and the art style and the attention to detail, everything in there is just spot on.
Yeah, and the biggest question though, what side are you part of?
Oh, Tyrael side for sure. I mean, he looks so cool with his wings, and the jetpack activates and he flies forward, and it's so cool.
It really is. But that Abathur thing is amazing, right? But it's the hive mind, which they captured so well. And I love the fact that at the end, he constructs his own robots from the pieces of the dead machines around him.
Yeah, it's cool. Although, there's a little bit of a continuity flaw there, because that Abathur picked both heroic abilities.
He did. But he's a robot, so maybe he hacked the system. Maybe he's #Hacksaw Master.
Yeah, maybe they're like, well, in HGC they do map bans and you don't get to do that, so...
There you go, right? And I mean, that Diablo had that flame breath on a, 6-second cooldown? So I think there's some cool stuff that they're not giving to us because it would be too cool.
Yeah, way too cool. And we'd play way too much and not spend any time with our families or pets. Let's talk about HGC because that thing is happening. Production quality, as always, amazing. Teams, just so fun. What have you seen in HGC, Kristen, that just gets your blood pumping for the new season? Because I know when I'm watching this, I think of, like we talked about last week with Overwatch League, how I believe Blizzard is helping set the standard for how these streams and events should look. So when I see, the casting desk and the talent that's there, it really inspires me because I think I want to see all my favorite games like this. I want to go see speedrunning like this. I want to see all these games I like to watch on Twitch like this.
Totally. My favorite part, I think, is more about seeing the fan response. So my little sister and her husband have been sending me pictures of them watching the HGC. And so last night, I get this wonderful image. They're all cozied up in the apartment with the TV on to HGC. They're holding their beers, and they're trying to decide what they should call it. Beeros of the Storm? Or I forget what the other one was. But seeing that kind of reaction is amazing because that brings me back to childhood when it wasn't video game sports. It was sports. Football was huge in my family. And even today, my grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins can rattle off the stats. No problem.
Yeah, I think fan response is awesome. And we've talked about, a couple years ago when they did Heroes of the Dorm and it was on ESPN and you could go to a bar and watch esports. I think there's places like that popping up all over Southern California. So I think that there's a market. If you've got a whole bunch of money lying around and you want to get in on the ground floor, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, totally. And the best thing to do, just a general esports pub, so you can jump from esports to esport. You don't want to do a specific esport because, things come and go. But that general physical camaraderie is really cool to see in this community, especially since there's that stigma that nerds are shut-ins with no social experience. Now there's a chance to be a nerd with social experience.
Absolutely. And Method got an esports team for Heroes of the Storm. There's a lot of stuff going on in HGC. If anything, go and watch it to learn something. There's always something crazy you can learn in there. And when you watch a lot of these pro teams, they've got pro strats and they're obviously all on comms together and they've practiced hours upon hours upon hours. But I can usually take one or two things away from that really blow my mind that I can practice with. I remember specifically watching one of the matches at BlizzCon, I believe it was 2 years ago, and there was a Brightwing that took Ice Block against a Stitches, and every time the Stitches hook came in, every time the Ice Block hit before the hook did, and we're talking like a 0.5 second reaction time here. So those are the kind of things you can practice and take away from HGC, and there's a lot going on.
Definitely. I think along with that, I love watching, going off of that Ice Block, the talent picks. I love seeing a character that I personally play a lot and then seeing what the pros choose to build them as and trying to deduce why they would do that. And then testing that out in my own games to see how that works out.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. And check it out just for fun and try to get your friends into watching it too, because it's a blast to watch with other people. All right, let's do what we are here to do on this lovely Sunday day. Let's forge.
Let's forge.
going to do the same thing that we do every week here on Heroes Forge, and we're going to build some hero kits of heroes that aren't in the Nexus yet, but could be someday. Today specifically, I think this hero could definitely be in the game at some point. Kristen, who is it this week?
This week, we are taking on the Lord, the Lord of Destruction himself, Baal.
Baal from Diablo II. If you're out there and you're thinking, oh, that guy from Diablo 2, you know, the infamous Diablo 2 cutscene of how that whole thing plays out. I mean, Baal is a big baddie.
It's true. And he's also one of those baddies where, let's be honest, how many of us actually fought him versus watched the cinematic and said, okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Hard, very hard, and very creepy and gross, and totally Diablo. And I wanted to bring this up to you, Kristen. Like, for those out there who don't know what Baal looks like, can you tell everybody out there how you think he looks?
Okay, if you've ever seen Men in Black, the squid baby that the woman gives birth to in the car, that's what he looks like, but adult.
Bingo! That is so good. We didn't set that up, ladies and gentlemen. She just came up with that right then and there. That's amazing. Totally. And, it made me start thinking, like, these prime evils and lesser evils, and the ones we've talked about on the show over the last 2 years, Baal being a prime evil, is they sort of all have similar features. These tentacles and weird arms and, demonic, appendages growing out of their bodies and all of these sorts of things, except for Diablo.
That's a good point. Diablo's just a hulking behemoth, and he's not squiggly. He doesn't have any tentacles, and he's not juicy. It's just some armored tank. What are your thoughts behind why they decided to do that for Diablo and not the brothers?
No, I have no idea, but we've looked into on this show multiple, models and what they would look like if we brought some of the other prime or lesser evils into the game, and Diablo is just ripped. He's like, especially Diablo 2 Diablo, like big, ripped guy, and I think it has a lot to do, I believe we're going to go over here in the intro a little bit, about how they come to be in this humanoid form from their demon form.
I think that's fair, right? He was in the hero's body from the first game. And we can assume with the hero being a prince, he was pretty well taken care of. And I guess ripped as well.
Yeah. And then, of course, what's-her-face in Diablo 3, when he takes over her body, and, it has a similar look and feel, but it still has, that whole Leah aspect to it. So that's a little bit of that. Give us a little background on Baal, Kristen, and what his place is in Diablo.
Will do. The Lord of Destruction, Baal, was imprisoned within the body of Tal Rasha via a soul stone embedded within the chest of the human. For centuries, the two souls battled, infusing the stone with Baal's destructive essence. Hundreds of years passed. Marius and the Dark Wanderer headed east into desert lands and eventually the tomb that had been forgotten. Before the Dark Wanderer could wrench the soul stone from the body of Tal Rasha to release Baal, Tyrael arrived. As angel and demon battled, Marius heard pleas for release from what seemed to be the human soul trapped behind the evil. After taking the soul stone out, it was revealed that he had been tricked by the demon, and Tyrael implored Marius to take the stone to the HeroesForge in Kurast and destroy it once and for all. Failing this, Marius found himself in an insane asylum. While there, a stranger visited him. In all appearances, Tyrael. Only after handing the stone over did Marius realize his fatal mistake. Baal had returned for the stone that would allow him to corrupt the very thing that had allowed for the creation of Sanctuary, the Worldstone itself. On Baal marched to Mount Ararat, reaching his destination and committing his heinous act before being defeated by adventurers.
Yeah, Tyrael kind of just ruins this whole thing. I mean, whether it's actually Tyrael or not.
Yeah, that's true. He had to stay behind to battle Diablo and Baal, and he knew Marius was a weakling, but he entrusted the Soul Stone to the dude in the HeroesForge. This poor guy was not going to walk through a Hellgate. There's no way that was going to happen. I mean, if anything, this story is an anti-hero story, and then heroes having to come clean up after this mistake.
Totally. I mean, I think absolutely what you just said there. And yeah, Tyrael. I was never impressed with Tyrael in Diablo 3 even. I felt like when you fought with Tyrael, El drew in this sword of, majesty. And, I mean, he's basically hitting them with a stick in Diablo 3. Let's be real.
That's very true. So why didn't you like Tyrael? Not saying you have to, right? Because his part wasn't exactly enormous in Diablo 2. I think that in Diablo 3, it felt like they kind of went, hey, you all remember Tyrael? He was amazing, the best thing ever. And now you get a whole game with him. And you're going, we saw a few cutscenes with the guy, but okay.
It's the member berries moment of Diablo 3. Remember Tyrael?
Remember Druid? Okay, yeah, sure, I remember.
Remember the Millennium Falcon?
Please, no. Remember the gambling dice?
No, actually, I don't. Oh, man, that is really funny. Back to Baal here. I mean, just like we said before, a big baddie with the ultimate goal, just like all of these primevals, destroying humanity, looking for that, Voldemort moment, basically. Like, only the purest demons and stuff.
Totally. And the best part about Baal's cinematic, the intro to the expansion, is when he tells the barbarian that he's going to consider the request, turn back now. We won't let you have our Worldstone. And then he kills the barbarian and he cracks a joke. It's not even a joke. Just the accept was what was requested was unacceptable. And then he's just laughing the whole time. He cracked himself up and he is just chuckling as his demon hordes bust into the barbarian temple.
Now, I specifically remember that cutscene growing up and thinking that was the most gorgeous thing I had seen. Now, going back and watching it on YouTube, you're like, oh man, this is boxy.
Yeah, totally. But at the time, it looked amazing. And that's how it goes with graphics. You can't judge Metropolis, that German, was it 1910s, 1920s movie that was hailed for its graphics to modern day graphics. You kind of have to suspend disbelief in terms of what was possible at the time and go, oh, okay, I see why this would have been impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the way I felt, thinking, I remember this being amazing. There will be a day when we look back and we look at these Overwatch cinematics that look basically like a Pixar film and think, ooh.
Well, have you been back to watch Toy Story? Even the older Pixar films are definitely showing their age.
I have, and it does show. It does show. All right, let's get on with building Baal, the Lord of Destruction, for the Nexus. We're each going to build a kit here, and we're just going to talk through it. Kristen, you want to go first or second this week? It's up to you.
Let's go first.
Rock and roll. And the first thing we always start with is the role classification. How are you bringing Baal into the Nexus?
I'm bringing Baal into the Nexus as a burst assassin.
That's exactly what I did. So this is going to be really cool. I think that in that specific fight, he has that feeling. I see how you could go specialist. There's a couple of like Asmodani moments in that fight after I watched it a few times over this last week. So I could see how you do that, but we got that already. Let's go burst assassin.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy does a lot of damage. He's also really scary. And I think to make a prime evil not one of those forefront game changers would just be a disservice.
Yeah. Especially Baal, with his tentacles and all. Let's get on to the trait. What are you thinking there?
All right, the trait, I'm going with the Shard of Destruction. Once the Soul Stone that trapped his soul and held him prisoner inside of Tal Rasha, the Shard of Destruction now acts as no ordinary prison. Instead of falling lifeless, it infused itself with power each time an act of destruction was committed. And now we're going into present tense. It will continue to do this during the game. This continues in the Nexus, including minion kills, structure destruction, and hero erasure. All deaths that yield XP increase the power of this shard that adds to Baal's ability damage.
I know you're building a burst assassin when you say hero erasure.
Exactly, that is the key word. But no, right? You hero death, the key thing with burst. I mean, so he probably has pretty low health here, you know, when you go burst, but you get in there, you kill.
I love it. I love the hero erasure. That is so cool. Okay, talk to me a little bit about how this would stack upon itself. So everything, obviously, are you thinking that everything has a different amount of power that it gives to the Shard of Destruction? Minions cost less, or minions contribute less power to it than heroes do, so on and so forth?
Totally, kind of like that marksman talent, where the minions, you're going to get something for them, but it's a lot more to your advantage if you go after heroes.
Oh, so cool. And I love the opportunity that there is here to have a level 1 talent for something like this, where you could choose what would give you more power in your Shard of Destruction, maybe at level 1.
That's a great point. And then that would very much be based on the map and what you expect to encounter with that. So that's a great point. Because then if you have to lane by yourself, you wouldn't be punished in a quick match scenario. Totally.
And maybe the shard could also grant you armor or could grant you movement speed, depending on all these different things. So what a cool trait. I mean, this is the way that the Heroes team is but absolutely developing things. I mean, we see a lot of quest abilities. We see our quest talents. We see a lot of different, things where you have to build it up throughout the game. And this is something that you could definitely play with this Shard of Destruction trait.
Totally. The whole idea of that leveling up your character as the game levels up. Everyone loves that. Everyone loves feeling more powerful as the game goes on.
Totally. How's he going to ride into battle? What's his mounting ability?
This giant thing from the cinematic with those huge flags. Well, I guess they're not flags. There are flags around him. It kind of looks like it's powered by the wind, but at the same time, I don't think it is. It's not a boat. Maybe it's a leader.
Yeah, I thought the same thing because that's the same mount that I picked. And I said it had sails, right? Like, it looks like sails, but obviously henchmen are carrying it.
Yes, totally. So it would be the same thing. But, I mean, here we have one of those few instances where a character from a game is on a mount.
That's true. So you can pick that mount right away, and you know what you're getting when you bring him into the Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. If you want a picture of what this is, I'll put a link to that one opening cinematic in the show description below. You can check that out and see what this looks like. It's massive, though, so I think they'd have to do a little bit of scaling.
They would. And maybe what happens is the thing is to scale for the Nexus, and he becomes a tiny little body on it. And I would imagine the entire time he's on this thing, he's laughing. He is having a great time riding around to battle.
Destructing things.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, let's get to these basics and how we're going to destruct the enemy team. See what I did there? Let's hear this cue. What is it?
It's a teleport, straight up teleport, but you get 2 stacks. So it is a medium range teleport, so about as long as Tracer's dash, that he can cast in succession twice. So basically a get in, get out kind of a thing.
And nothing says Baal more than, well, there are a few things that say Baal an awful lot, but one of those things is teleporting, right? I mean, in this fight, that's one of the most annoying parts I have seen on these videos where people are trying to do something and he just teleports all over the place.
Right? He just doesn't stop. And I was thinking maybe giving him more stacks than that. But I think in a hero setting, you should be given enough stacks to do what your purpose is. And that's it, right? No more, no less.
Yeah, you're talking about like Tracer, that feeling like she can get in there, get some damage, maybe dive a little too deep, rewind, or dash back out.
Exactly. And Li Ming, she's not a teleporter per se, so she only needs that one to either get in with her resets or get out if there's danger. And that's all her kit really uses it for.
Yeah, and then there are really weird heroes like Butcher that have Bolt of the Storm, and you're like, what?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a great level 20 if you don't have any escape, that's for sure. But yeah, Bolt of the Storm indeed.
I mean, I don't remember Butcher doing that in Diablo 3. I don't remember that, but maybe I just missed it.
No, I mean, maybe his unending pursuit is kind of a bolt of the, he would appear and you're like, wait, I thought you were back there. Oh no.
I love it. We can make anything work here on Heroes Forge. Second basic ability for your kit, Kristen.
The second one, I'm going with Incineration Nova. Baal lets loose an explosion of torches that expand outward from the point the ability was cast.
Nice. So we're explosion of torches. Talk a little bit about what that looks like in comparison to a Diablo explosion.
Oh, that's a great. Okay, so I would imagine it is a closed circle of fire. So if this thing hits you, you can't dodge it like Diablo's little fireballs. It's one of those things, if you're in it, you're going to get hit. But as soon as you're hit, those specific torches disappear. So now there is a part of the ring where you could potentially dodge.
Oh, I see. Really cool. I mean, really cool. And there are lots of abilities like this in all of the Diablo games where, they, like we see with Diablo's Fire Stomp. I mean, there are a lot of abilities like that in all of these games where they push things out and they're, setting this explosion forth that expands as it moves away from Baal. That's what you're thinking here, right?
Totally. And the reason I said it's outward from the point where it was cast is I see him teleporting in, casting it, a literal burst thing of damage, and then teleporting out. But the teleport doesn't drag the explosion with him. It's there where it is landed.
Okay, where you set it off at.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So cool. Okay, what's your third basic ability here?
Okay, the third one is Destructive Strike, and I love this idea because he's got these tentacles in his hair, but I guess also near his arms and his legs. So Baal lashes out with a tentacled strike. This skill shot, if it hits, reduces all armor for a brief moment and deals a lot of damage.
All right, so this is his main damage dealing ability you're thinking here.
Exactly. This is that single target. You've gotten somebody below half health with your burst, and now you're just going to kill him.
Nice. So when you say armor here, are we talking physical armor?
I'm thinking all armor. I love this whole thing they have with the physical and magic armor, but why not just all armor?
Yeah, maybe that's the reason you pick Baal, right? Like thinking we can deal with any armor that they throw at us, or it's a last pick. Like, oh, they got armor all over the place. Well, let's pick Baal because he can help us in any situation.
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely.
I love this. This is a really, really cool idea. And obviously, the tentacle strike is a huge part of the fantasy of this character as well. I mean, those things are nasty.
They're gross, too, and maybe you're covered in slime or something. I mean, the animation would have to be disgustingly cool.
For sure. Let's talk about the best disgustingly cool parts. The heroics. Hit us with your first one.
First one, we're going with Hoarfrost. An ice wedge shoots outward, driving itself into a target enemy hero. This pushes them back, counting down to an explosion of the wedge that freezes them after dealing massive amounts of damage.
Nice. Okay, this is so cool. I have something like this in my kit as well. I'm wondering how, because I couldn't figure out how to do this mentally. So this wedge of ice shoots out, and it's kind of like in the shape of a triangle, right?
Yes.
So in this heroic version of it, the wedge continues to move, and then wherever it is when it reaches the end of its length, it explodes and freezes everybody in that area?
What I'm thinking is this would be targeted. So you target an enemy hero. This thing drives itself into their chest. So you have the biggest part of the wedge out front, the smallest sticking out their spine, and then they're slowly pulled back. So very, very slowly moved backward. And once it reaches its maximum, then it explodes.
Nice.
And it's that single target control.
All right, single target. Very cool. Okay, so this is like a reverse Cassia pull.
Exactly. I was definitely considering the Cassia pull, but why not just have one where you can get somebody out of the game too? I mean, you could use this on tanks if you need a little bit of time without an ETC in your face.
For sure. We see it with Lurking Arm, or whatever it's called, Massive Shove, not Lurking Arm, where you can push people out, and when you're playing with a team that knows what's going on and you can pull that off really well and push the right person out, it's invaluable. And now you're basically, it's not the length of that, I take it, but you're dealing damage with it at the end, and there's also a stun, so it's a cool twist on that.
Yeah, definitely. It can be used as either a very powerful CC or a way to just completely erase a character.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chad is saying that it sounds like it would take ranged out of the fight. If you're in a good open area, you can take out the ranged people from there. Of course. I mean, that's the kind of high skill stuff that wins games, and I love it.
Exactly.
All right, second heroic. Let's hear it.
Okay, the second one is Festering Appendage. To all great warlords, retreat of the enemy means victory through their slaughter. With 3 stacks, Baal can place on the ground walls of tentacles. Should enemy heroes try to retreat and they hit a wall, they are grabbed and dealt damage over time as the tentacles squeeze the life from their puny mortal forms. Level 20 gives Baal the ability to crush one entangled fool.
Nice. Combining a ton of cool abilities we know about in the Nexus right now, right? Null Gates, you got Tassadar's Wall, and then you got the ones like Zul's Wall of Skeletons, those type of abilities. This is such a cool way of putting a lot of those different ideas together. So if you touch the wall, you're stuck.
Yes, you are grabbed by a tentacle and you're stuck there.
All right, so talk a little bit about this level 20 crush. So when you're at level 20 and you crush this person that is inside, are we thinking like just a big, massive amount of damage, or does it do something else?
I'm thinking something like Pyroblast, where you're probably going to die, unless you're a tank who has full health that was grabbed in there. But even then, depending on how it's spec'd, maybe the tentacles are doing more damage the longer you're in there. So it's a kill automatically.
Oh, it's so cool. And our amazing chat is talking about how you could do an awesome Kel'Thuzad combo with this, right?
Oh, gross. But you're absolutely right. That synergy would be amazing. They get stuck on this wall and you can just pop your KT ult for days.
They're calling it demonic flypaper. Bravo. Bravo. So cool. I love this idea. It's totally Baal. It's, he summons these tentacles up from the ground. They're shooting fire. They're doing crazy stuff. But when you think of tentacles, you think about somebody grabbing you with these, or these hands that come up from the ground. That says demonic to me more than a lot of things.
It's true. I think what we've discovered with these demonic guys, you need at least one fire-looking attack, because fire's from hell. That's just what we've all accepted. And something to do with limbs, appendages that aren't necessarily attached to bodies.
For sure. For sure. And you've done a great job at that, Kristen. Sum up your entire Baal kit.
Tentacruel? More like tentacool. And that's his Cthulhu skin. That's the summary that would read with his Cthulhu skin.
And then sunglasses come down.
Exactly. Deal with it. Hold up.
I love it. And it totally speaks Baal from what I remember, for what I've seen and what I've researched. Very, very, very well done. Before we get to my kit, we have some people that we need to thank. As always, anybody out there that is a current supporter on patreon.com/HeroesForge, we want to take this moment to thank you for all of your support. We couldn't do the show without you. You are all rock stars. If you too would like to become one of those supporters, head on over to that website and check it out. There's a lot of really cool stuff over there as well to take a look at. Also, thank you to everybody that's given us a 5-star review on iTunes. It really helps the show grow when people search for all the other cool Heroes of the Storm podcasts out there. So thank you. And if you'd like a shout out on the show and you haven't given us a 5-star review on iTunes yet, make sure you leave us a little note when you do, and we'll give you a shout out right here at this portion of the show. All right, let's get on with the second kit that we're building here for Baal. And the second kit is also an assassin, Kristen.
I'm interested to really hear this kit because he's a boss. He's got a set number of attacks that he does. So I'm really interested to see how these things converge and diverge.
Absolutely. And I think that Baal is one of the characters out there that is very, very iconic with a lot of the things that he does in the fight. Sometimes we can talk about characters like last week with Candlebeard, where you can just make crap up the entire time. But with Baal, people have an expectation of what he would do if brought to the Nexus. So I think we're going to see a lot of similar things as we go through these kits, but that's part of the fun. That just shows to me how Blizzard creates these iconic characters, and you're like, well, if Baal didn't have Hoarfrost, then that wouldn't be Baal.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This shared history that we all have together. Right. And I think a strength that Blizzard has, especially with these older games, is that the lore is so unified that we all have this single idea of what these characters are. There aren't books. There weren't books. There weren't movies with 50 bajillion other things. There was the one thing, and he did the 5 things. And that's what we all rally around.
Absolutely. I mean, and they do it almost in an instant now. I mean, think about Tracer, right? You saw that opening cinematic of Tracer, and you could have built a Tracer Heroes of the Storm kit off of that cinematic, because she does everything she does, basically, in that thing. So it's just incredible stuff that we come up with and eventually fall in love with. So this trait is taken from that. It's called Echoes of Destruction. So the base fantasy for my Baal kit is to be a high burst assassin like Kristen's that can dish out the powers of hell and deal a large damage quickly to the controlling and also control the battlefield. So this trait, Echoes of Destruction, is activatable, and when it's activated, it allows Baal to scream in a target location. Enemies in range of this scream will be chilled to the core, forcing them to cover their ears and be stunned for a very short amount of time. So we're talking trait levels here, and it would kind of come out in sound waves, because I thought I could never forget when he yells at that barbarian at the gate at the very beginning, and it echoes and echoes and echoes.
That is a great point. He totally does that. And I love that you're going with the ice behind it. It's beautiful. Ice is wonderful. So with this, so you're talking about sound waves. Is it going to be this rippling thing in a cone, or is it a circle ripple?
I think it would just cone out, and maybe you could talon to it so that it would be, a circle instead. And also, I think this is something that we don't really have. We don't in the Nexus right now, where it's these mini stuns, like not a full-on stun. It just kind of throws you off a tiny little bit. Like you're trying to stutter step, you're Cassian, you're trying to continuously be moving. You're trying to do something, where you're, trying to not be a target. And maybe just a little tiny hiccup is what stops you just enough time to get destroyed.
Totally. And who doesn't want CC like that, right? Because often it's the little CCs that do the most damage to a team.
Oh, totally, because you're just in the wrong place at the right time, if you know what I'm saying. My mounting ability is the same as yours, that sailing cart, because it is so iconic for Baal and being carried by, his followers and all that. And then we're getting into basics here. So the first one is Tentacle Slap. So Baal reaches out with a long-ranged attack using his tentacles. When activated, he will immediately lash out in front of him, dealing damage to all enemies in range. This attack has a very large range, about twice the size of a Dahaka tongue. So we're talking like very long, which would be the difference in what we've seen, with maybe a Stukov auto attack.
Oh, definitely. So long, twice as long as the Hakatang, about the range of a Stitch's hook, maybe a tiny bit shorter?
Great idea. Yes. It's like a tiny, just a little bit shorter than a Stitch's hook, but it's not obviously going to do any grabbing or pulling. It's just going to deal damage in that way.
Yeah, so this is, it damages everyone in the way, so kind of like that Gazlo beam, right? You aim the little arrow. Is it an immediate cast? Does it trail forward over time?
No, I want it to be like almost instantaneous, like maybe one frame, right? Like, wha-pow! Kind of like Stukov's Get Back ultimate, when he's whipping those people back. I want it to be that fast. So you don't even know where this tentacle's coming from. It just lashes out and hits you.
Oh, gross. And if you're putting traits into it, what are some extras you'd want to give this?
Well, in the Baal fight, he's got different types of tentacles, right? Like some tentacles are icy, some are on fire, some are doing different things. So maybe that's the way you would go. Maybe if you had an ice tentacle, if it hit them, it would slow them for a second. Or if you had a fire tentacle, maybe it would do damage over time. Or maybe you could add a poison tentacle, so on and so forth.
I like that. I really like that.
So there's some cool things you could do with that. And then, of course, we talked about Hoarfrost before, so we're going to talk about it now. It's a basic ability on my kit, though. So when this is activated, balls of frost energy blast forward in the shape of a triangle, dealing damage and pushing back all heroes that are hit by them. The enemy heroes can be hit multiple times by this ability, just like in the Baal fight, if they don't get out of the way during its duration. So with yours, Kristen, you were talking about a single target thing. This, I'm thinking, is wider, maybe half the size of a lane, like a traditional lane, and it just moves forward, maybe like the Mighty Ducks Flying V, it moves forward, and if it hits you, it pushes you back, and you have to get out of the way of it or you'll get hit again.
I love that description, the Flying V. That's it. That's wonderful. Oh my goodness. So multiple times. So you're saying it drives forward and it kind of pushes them along the outer wall? And they kind of roll against it?
Yeah, so think about a Chen barrel. So it comes up, it hits you, pushes you back a little bit. If you don't get out of the way, it's going to hit you again. Bam, bam, bam. You're just going to keep going back and taking damage each time. Maybe this is heroic status here, but, let's put it on basic. It'd be fun.
Yeah, right. If you can dodge this, probably not heroic, right? I mean, there are heroics too that can be dodged, but I like this idea of being able to control the lane. And I love that you're going with a controller here. He's definitely bursty and he can definitely kill people if he wants, but he's more of helping his team versus being selfish and wanting the kills for himself.
Which is not like a primeval, I don't think, because I think they're all, out for themselves. And so maybe Baal in the Nexus has forgiven and forgotten.
Yeah, right? Maybe he's more of a team player, and he understands that by helping his team, he has a higher rate of success. And I mean, he went to the Worldstone because he wanted to complete the plan, he and his brothers, and he wanted to avenge his brothers. So I don't think that's too far out of the realm of possibility.
That's true. And he is really smart. So, I mean, if soaking lanes and being a team XP game, I think he'd get it done no matter what. And he'd use this third basic as well called Festering Appendages. So when this is activated, Baal calls forth appendages from the ground in the form of tentacles that stay in a selected location and deal damage to all enemies that come into their range. This ability can be talented into later in the game to allow the tentacles to grab and stun players that get too close to them. Tentacles will have health and can be destroyed by the enemy team. So, I mean, this is one of those things. It's Baal.
Yeah, it's just part of what he is. And I think it's one of those, if he's in the Nexus, he has to have some sort of wall of tentacles, because why not? It's just his kit. That's his kit. That's what we've been told is his kit.
Yeah, totally. And just port it over, Blizzard. Just, press the button that says import, and we'll be playing Baal on Tuesday.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? We don't even have to update the graphics. You just call it the retro Baal skin. And you got it, right? You can just use the Diablo 2 graphics.
Totally. That was one of the things that I thought was pretty amazing was when they were doing that Resurrecting Kel'Thuzad video where they do that. Like, they take the old Warcraft Kel'Thuzad and pop him in the game just to have a placeholder there while they try to play. I thought that was pretty cool.
It really is. And there's that level of nostalgia. And I wonder if they haven't discussed bringing in the old models of these characters that you could craft and play, right? Because as long as the abilities are clearly telegraphed, why not?
Yeah, there are some characters I'd love to see the retro skins for, just to bring them in there. Maybe like 8-bit Lost Vikings.
Oh my goodness, could you imagine? There are 3 color blocks on top of one another, and those are the bodies.
Love it. All right, let's talk about some heroics here. The first one is called Mana Rift. So Baal lets out a huge blast of energy that will take 50% of the remaining resources from the enemy team. You know what I mean? Like mana, fury, all of those things that they have. The area of this ability is the size of a rain of destruction from Gul'dan. So I'm talking a big area that he can just suck the mana out of all of the people that are around there.
Dude, and I like that you covered more than just mana, basically any resource that's there. And what a cool thing to try and draft against, right? Because you say remaining resources. So you wouldn't want to go mana heavy because you pop this at the beginning and suddenly your mages are SOL. But if you choose Sonya, for instance, who generates her own, what does it matter if this went off or not? And that is cool.
Yeah, and I love stuff like that makes the drafts more interesting. You start thinking, oh, Cho'Gall, that's a big health pool. Maybe we should draft a Kerosene, percentage-based damage, all this kind of stuff. I love stuff like that. Now, this could probably be drafted around. I mean, there are a few heroes that don't even have any sort of resource, but that really nerfs your team choices to have to do things like that.
It totally does. And I mean, and I think this wouldn't be OP because we already have Malfurion's Twilight Dream explosion, silence in your face, and ETC's stun with his mosh pit. So if those things are on cooldown, don't get too close to those characters because you're going to whiff it.
Yep.
I think this would work.
Yeah, I think it would be a fun thing to play with. Again, this is in the realm of playing with cooldowns, right? I don't know if they're willing to, have a reverse innervate in the game or, be able to draw that from the enemy team, if that would be a fun thing or not. I'm sure they're testing things like that or have tested them, but yeah, it's just a fun thought to think about what it would be like if you could take away a portion of the mana on the enemy team. Because, there are lots of times where I'm playing the game thinking, oh, I'm not going to go to that shrine yet. I'm going to go B first so that I can get my mana filled up and then go in there with full mana. Well, what if Baal could take that away?
Yeah, exactly. So he pops it right at the start of the fight. He's hiding in a bush. And then he runs out screaming, tentacles whipping, and then he screams and freezes, and then he pops this, and he starts laughing. And he just keeps laughing as your team grabs the objective and wins.
Absolutely. And then he could even pick the second heroic called No Gravity in Hell. This one I made up. So Baal is going to scream. Again, mine's just Baal is a screamer. Yours is a laugher. Mine is a screamer. So he's going to scream, but with his mind. All of the gravity in a select location is turned off for enemy heroes in that area, and they are caught in a gravity lapse-like stun and are not able to move for a short amount of time. They can still be targeted by the friendly heroes on your team. This is basically a ranged mosh pit.
That's adorable. Not because it's cute, not in any demeaning cuteness way. But I say adorable because I can envision special animations the characters would need to have when they're in this gravity lapse, because we know with the Kael'thas, they kind of waggle their arms a bit. But if they're in 0G, what if they splay out their limbs and they kind of rotate in a circle? And then when it's done, they drop on their heads and have to stand up. So there's kind of a mini stun after it's done too.
Oh, that'd be cool if you could talent into that. That'd be really, really cool. I just really want a ranged mosh pit. I mean, if that's a thing, I think that would be even more frustrating.
Totally. Now, visually, how would you communicate this?
I don't know. I think maybe you would just hear the scream, and maybe in the area, maybe you can't dodge it. Well, you'd have to, right? I mean, you'd have to if it was a mosh pit-like thing. I don't know, because you can hear that cowbell and you can get out, right? And you know not to stand next to ETC. Maybe there's one tentacle that pops up in a select area and you have like a half a second to get out of that area. I don't know.
I like that. I also like the no warning. You know it's on cooldown, so why would you group up?
Yeah, Chadis has a good point saying that it would need some sort of casting animation, right? You would have to, he would have to be back here like doing something, and then you would know, oh, I can't stand too close because it's got a range on it, whatever, but bring it on.
Yeah, right? This is the realm of all possibility. And I like this.
So that's my Baal kit there, just kind of being that burst assassin that has the ability to, tentacle slap you from across the map, and then also push you away with that Hoarfrost ability. And then of course appendages. You got your tentacles, you got your appendages, you got your ice, you got your all these crazy things. And the inspiration for There's No Gravity in Hell came from the cinematic again, where when the barbarian is standing there, all of the flags that are flying on his castle just fly up in the air as if gravity was taken away. So that's where I got that idea from.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic. And you're right. It's such a great cinematic. I watched that thing more times than I think the regular Diablo II cinematics.
It's very, very, very good. All right, before we can call this HeroesForge, though, we got to talk about specialty skins and dance moves. I'll go first this week with my specialty skin. I'm calling it the Demonic Construction Backhoe, Lord of Construction. So instead of Lord of Destruction having like all these arms and stuff, he's going to be like a construction equipment Baal. And, maybe you can walk backwards and it would go beep, beep.
Oh, so he himself would be a construction equipment piece?
Yes, he is machinery.
Yes, I love it. And would he slap people with metal arms then?
Yeah, or maybe it would be like, poles or something that he throws at you instead of tentacles. But yes, the Lord of Construction.
Yes. I like that so much that that's what I have also done.
Oh, did you?
Baal, Lord of Construction. Except mine's not a piece of equipment. Mine comes with a hard hat, and he's carrying construction plans and a thermos. And he didn't earn his title by accident.
We are definitely on the same wavelength this year. This episode, I don't think we've ever done that.
No.
We have never had the same.
This is a first, listeners.
That's right. Lord of Construction is a first. We'll be talking about this in 10 years. Remember the first Lord of Construction skin?
Oh, that was a day. That was a...
I bet we have different dance moves, though. What's your dance move?
All right. And yeah, probably. I went it's called the Manu Siva Tau, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, but it's the Samoan war dance that's performed by the Samoan rugby team before their games. It's a lot of that call back and answer. So maybe he would scream something and he'd slap his legs and just do really jerky, clean movements. And today's fact with this dance is that originally the rugby team performed the Malu Ulu Moa, a lighthearted, jovial dance usually performed by women to reinvigorate audiences, until the Manu was written in 1991 and deemed even more invigorating.
Dang, that is a really good, and it's intimidating, right?
Yes.
Isn't the whole the whole point of it is to intimidate your enemy, and Baal is a super intimidator.
Absolutely. He's making his war face and he's doing whatever he can to make himself look bigger and nastier than he should be.
I love it. It's super cool. Mine is way less serious. I went to YouTube and I typed in destruction dance, and it came up with there is a Dance Dance Revolution Mario version, and there's a dance called the destruction dance. So that's what Bale's doing. He's going to have his arms out, legs together. Mario does a little shimmy. And of course, there's got to be hip thrusts.
Well, yes. And I have a confession.
You do?
I knew about the Mario DDR.
You did?
Because for 2 years, that's about all I played. It was a Christmas gift from Kyle before we got married. Not a marriage gift. This was when we were dating.
Will you marry me? Here's a Mario DDR.
Not too far from the truth. But yeah, so for 2 whole years, I had the official dance pad that went with this Mario DDR. And I got pretty good at the Bowser level, but I know the destruction dance.
Yeah, and you can get fit doing this. I mean, it's exercise.
It may have been one of the first exercises I did regularly.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, check it out. It's very funny, and it's even funnier that Kristen knew what I was talking about. It's pretty great. Now, after all that craziness, we can say that Baal has officially been forged. Definitely a character that I believe we will see in the Nexus. When you look at the Diablo universe and who isn't there yet, I mean, all of the prime and lesser evils can come in. I'll be happy with any of them.
Yeah, totally. But why not just bring in the rest of the prime evils? We're only missing Mephisto and Baal. And then we've got all 3 of them. And then you can have the sick Diablo team. And maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, but it'll be fun. And that's the important part.
It's been a while since we had a Diablo character. Was Cassia the last character that we had that's Diablo?
Oh my goodness. I don't want to say yes or no. But she seems a likely candidate.
I mean, we could look this up really, really easily.
That's true.
We'll look it up here as we go, but I think it's been quite a while since we've had a Diablo character. If it wasn't Cassia, then, it's time. We're due. We are...
Malthael. Looks like Malthael, but he was released very close to Cassia.
Yeah, so, I mean, Malthael's been in the Nexus for a while. Let's go, Blizzard. Let's get some Baal in here.
Right? But at the same time, I'm sure they hear that with so many other characters.
Oh, yeah.
I just know I'm biased because I love how dark... I mean, Diablo is their darkest series. It is the mature one where they were allowed to have exploding corpses, have zombie dogs raised from the corpses of your enemies. And I know that has to be toned down from Heroes, but at the same time, that whole aesthetic is just fantastic.
Do you think that they're doing a good job toning it down for Heroes currently? Do you think that it is too cartoony, too toned down, doesn't pay respect to Diablo, or are you satisfied with the way that it feels and plays inside of Heroes currently?
I think they've done a great job. Malthael, and I'll speak about Malthael because I think his winter skin, I joke, is his hot topic skin, right? Malthael is clearly that angsty teenager. I don't have any emotions. Who cares about life? Whatever, we're all gonna die. But the way he was brought in didn't go too far into that direction. He really encompasses his hero very well. And me personally, I am always on board with taking it to mature levels, but I understand the limitations because this is a game for kids. So you do have to pull it back. And I think they've done a great job staying true to the essence without pushing it to the bounds it started in.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I think that they're doing a really good job. I think they could actually keep it rated the way that it is and push the boundaries maybe even a little more. There are characters to me like Joanna and Karazim, even Li Ming. Like they could really I want to say like beat those characters up a little bit. They look really clean in the game, which is the art aesthetic of Heroes, which is perfect and I love it obviously. But when I see them, they've gone through these dungeons. They fought through literal hell. And, you know, when you see them in Heroes of the Storm, you got your Star Queen, Star Princess Li Ming, and it doesn't fit in my mind sometimes.
And that's a great point, right? Talking about the skins, because a lot of the time, sometimes the skins work and make you more interested in a character than you would have been otherwise. Other times they don't.
What is the
and
one?
That's okay.
What is the one skin that's cringeworthy for you that just doesn't work?
Oh man, the one skin that doesn't work for me.
Mine is Sugar Plum Sylvanas.
You don't like Sugar Plum Sylvanas. Why's that?
It just bothers me. Every time I see it, I just think, poor Sylvanas.
Oh, God. Okay, cool. So you're thinking about it, their characters, and what would their characters think if they were forced to wear something like that? Ah, that's fantastic.
There's some crazy skins out there, people. But Baal would have obviously a construction skin because that's what we both think, and we both think that Baal will make his way into the Nexus eventually. I mean, it's iconic Diablo stuff. Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs when you're not doing this show?
On the interwebs, you can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Still working on Cuphead?
Nope, finished Cuphead. The devil has been defeated, the soul contracts were destroyed, and everyone has lived happily ever after.
What a great, great game.
Yeah, I'll praise it to the day and back as one of the best games I've ever played, and one of the best games I will ever play in my lifetime.
Yep. It's the art style and the design. It just looks really great. Check out Kristen's streams. They are a ton of fun, as always. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live every Sunday at 12 o'clock noon Pacific, right here on twitch.tv/Amove TV. Just a reminder that we're doing the show next week on Saturday at noon. So if you want to join the chat room and chat it up with us, we'll be at noon on Saturday next week, but usually Sundays. You can find this show on any of your favorite podcasting apps, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Also, you can check out our website, which is heroesforge.club, for all of the other heroes that we've forged over the last 2 years together. You can also check out our Patreon site. Patreon.com/heroesforge is a way that you can support the show. And also a huge thank you again to all of our current supporters. If you have an idea for a hero that you'd like to see on this show, there's a million ways you can get in contact with us. On our website, there's a contact tab. You can follow us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. That's also the place you want to follow us to know about show changes, updates, and any cool hero stuff that's announced. Also, you can send us an email, contactheroesforge@gmail.com. Kristen, any final thoughts on Baal?
I think he has revealed that we are sorely lacking tentacle creatures. We've got Murky's Octograb. We've got Alarak, who's got a Cthulhu thing going on. But we don't really have a hero that attacks with just tentacles.
Kristen, Stukov is crying in the corner right now.
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. Zergical.
Yeah, it's a Zerg tentacle. I mean, you're right. It's not a tentacle. It's not. It's a Zerg arm.
Unless you put him in his sea skin, and then it's an octopus.
That's true, and I still stand to this day thinking that might be one of the best skins in the game.
Totally. And I love the lore behind it. Even if you don't read the text, it's clear that the octopus is controlling the skeleton, and I love that.
Yeah, it is so cool. Hopefully, we get to see more tentacles in the Nexus. Blizzard, bring us Baal, bring us more Diablo heroes, bring us more heroes in general. We love this game. Obviously, we do a show about it every week. We're going to call the show there, and we'll see you all in the real world.